Imagine this. You get the dreaded calendar invite. The subject line is vague, post-mortem discussion. You walk into that conference room and the air feels thick. The document on the table has your name on it, followed by terms like accountability or lessons learned. What's going through your head? Panic? Anger? A deep, cold sense of inevitability? You walk into that room with the glass walls, and there it is on the table. A document. Probably has your name on the cover page, followed by words like accountability or lessons learned. What do you feel in that moment? Is it rage? Is it a cold knot in your stomach? Or just a tired sense of inevitability? But forget the feeling for a second. Let's ask the real question, the one nobody in that room will ever say out loud. Why is it that when the whole machine breaks down, the parts they always decide to replace are people like you and me? This isn't a pep talk. Consider this a quiet walkthrough of the backstage area. I'm going to show you the mechanism that selects who gets sacrificed when the system needs an explanation. And we're only going to focus on three things: how you get on the list, the 3-step process they use to narrow it down, and the exact point where you might still have a tiny bit of room to move. First, let's check your status. Don't think about your defense strategy yet. Just answer this. Signal check. 1. Are you in a resource desert? You've been given a mission that sounds like it came from the CEO's vision board, but the budget, the team, the authority you actually have feels like it was approved by an intern having a bad day. You're supposed to build the future, but your toolbox contains a spoon and some hope. Signal check 2. Are you the messenger in no man's land? Your job is to facilitate collaboration between departments that hate each other. You have a fancy title, but zero actual power to make anyone do anything. You're just the person everyone agrees to blame when their refusal to work together finally blows up the project. Signal check 3. Are you on the point person list? Leadership announced a big, shiny, impossible goal. Then they looked around, pointed at you and a handful of others, and said, "Make it happen." You weren't asked if it was possible. You were just given the responsibility for when it inevitably isn't. If you're nodding to any of this, understand you're not potentially on a list. You're already on it. The system, when it fails, needs a clean, simple story. Your position, your work, your isolation, they make you a perfect character for that story. Now, how does the final selection work? The system can't put bad strategy or broken culture in handcuffs. It needs a person, a name, a face. The conversion from system failure to human blame happens in 3 stages. Think of it as a filtration process. Stage 1, your hard work becomes your crime scene. Here's the first beautiful irony. The system's favorite person to blame for a doomed project is often the person who tried the hardest to save it. Think about it. A product fails because the people at the top misread the market by a mile. But who gets grilled in the autopsy? The project manager. Their detailed Gantt charts, their relentless status updates, their 2 a.m. emails, all that diligence becomes a perfect paper trail. It's not evidence of effort, it's evidence of failure, a map of where things went wrong with their name on every page. The system turns your commitment into your confession. The message is clear. You didn't just fail, you failed by the book. A quick aside, ever notice how the language of accountability often sounds like a bad theater script? We'll break down that performance in the next video. Stage 2. You become the human peace treaty. Imagine this. The engineers say, absolutely not, it's not secure. The sales team says, we'll lose the client if we don't act now. You, the product manager, are stuck in the middle, trying to make peace. But when the project collapses, what happens? Suddenly, both sides agree on one thing. It was your fault. Usually, it's the person in the middle who was just trying to get the actual work done. Classic example, the engineers say, absolutely not, it's not secure. The sales team says, we'll lose the client if we don't. You, the product manager, are in the middle. You try to find a compromise. The project stalls, then dies. In the aftermath, what happens? The engineers and the sales directors who couldn't agree on lunch will suddenly agree on one thing. It was your fault. You failed to build consensus. Your crime wasn't action. It was location. You were standing on the fault line. Sacrificing you lets both sides save face without having to fix their fundamental conflict. Stage 3, the terminal stage, you're cast as the full stop. This is for when everything is on fire. A major scandal, a colossal loss, a regulatory nightmare. The system needs one thing above all else, closure. A powerful symbolic act that says, we have identified the problem and it has been removed. They need a story that ends, so they look for the right character to end it with. The ideal candidate has a mid to senior title, impressive enough, some identifiable mistake in their record, plausible, and isn't deeply connected to the real power center, expendable. We've all seen this movie. The bank loses billions on risky bets. Who gets paraded out? Not the C-suite that set the growth at all costs tone. It's the regional trading head. Yes, he made the bad trades, but he was reading from the script they gave him in the theater they built. At this point, you cease to be an employee. You become a narrative device. A human punctuation mark, a dramatic period at the end of a very bad sentence. Eliminating you is how the system performs the ritual of cleansing for the cheapest possible price. Now, the most important mental move you can make. If you see yourself in any part of this process, you have to perform a brutal act of separation. The guilt the system is assigning isn't about you, the human being. It's about the role you're being asked to play in its story. They've written a character called the responsible party. They've decided your face fits the mask. Your actual skills, your intentions, your late nights are irrelevant. They're just props for the character. Your job is to remember deep down that you are not the character. You're the actor who can walk off the stage even if the play goes on. So what can you actually do? You can't fight the system head on, but you can make yourself a less convenient casting choice. Master one skill, the context translator. This is your only real tool for now. Train yourself to instantly translate the language of personal blame into the language of systemic context. When you hear you made a bad call, translate it in your head to the process provided no safety net for that type of judgment under pressure. When you hear you failed to communicate, translate it to the organizational structure created silos that made transparent communication impossible. When you hear you should have known, translate it to the information flow was designed in a way that kept critical knowledge from reaching me. You don't even have to say this out loud. Just doing it in your own mind changes the game. It protects your sense of reality. It turns you from a defendant into an analyst. Let's kill one fantasy right now. The most seductive and dangerous one. If I had just been better, smarter, worked harder, this wouldn't be happening to me. No. In a broken system, exceptional effort doesn't grant you immunity. It often just makes you a brighter target. The system doesn't blame based on merit. It blames based on narrative convenience. So you're left with paths, not choices. You can become a cynical calculator, pricing the risk of every task into your salary. You can become a truth teller, constantly reframing personal failure into system failure and becoming professionally radioactive in the process. Or you can try to find a quieter, less dramatic corner of the organization where the spotlight rarely swings. But the default path, the one where you internalize the blame, believe you deserve it, and try to be a better sacrifice next time, that's the real trap. That's when the system doesn't just use you, it rewires you. You don't need to win the game. You need to see the board clearly enough to spot the trapdoors before you step on them. And here's the thing. Your failure isn't a random accident. It's a result of the system's need for a scapegoat. In the next video, we'll uncover why the accountability we're so obsessed with is actually part of the system's strategy to maintain control. Don't miss it. And once you see that, you'll start to notice the ultimate absurdity. All this energy, all this drama, all these careers ended, and yet the same problems keep happening. Why? If holding people accountable doesn't actually fix anything, then what are we really doing? That's the final layer of the illusion, and that's exactly what we'll pull apart next time. Next, L3-30, why accountability won't prevent recurrence. Spoiler, because it's not supposed to.